Hello friends, welcome to my channel and welcome to another important video on the history of English literature series. We have covered 4 topics in this series on history of English literature, and those 4 topics were Anglo-Saxon period, Anglo-Norman period, Age of Chaucer and Age of Revival. We are going to discuss today Elizabethan period, that is also known as Golden Period of English literature. This period is called Golden Period because some of the important and most prominent writers were born in this period. They wrote in this period. One of the most quoted and known to all is Mr. William Shakespeare. Before discussing the writers, we must know the Elizabethan period itself. So, Elizabethan period started in 1558 and it went on till 1603. During this span of time, very important socio-economic and cultural things happened. The first important thing to highlight is this, that this period was ruled not by a king but a queen. Queen Elizabeth was a virgin queen because she never married, and during her reign she established political stability in England. We have already noticed from the previous discussion that almost every period was under war, and even in the Age of Revival, England faced civil war that was started between two houses. But this period was politically stable, and that stability led people to work on various forms of art, and one such art was literature. Another thing that brought literature to the approach of laymen was printing press. As we discussed in the Age of Revival, that printing press was a great advancement in the development of literature, as people could get as many copies of a book as required, and it helped literature to circulate easily in the entire society. Along with it, many sailors went to the distant areas from England and discovered new lands and new culture. This was the time when Columbus colonized America, and during this period, British colonization started. So this was the period when many good things happened in England, and for understanding them, one must understand the arrival of Renaissance in this period. And before understanding Renaissance itself, one must understand that Renaissance was a movement that started in Italy and influenced entire Europe and England in particular. As Renaissance came into England in Elizabethan period, so some people also call it English Renaissance. So Renaissance began in Italy in 14th century when people took interest in the works of ancient civilizations, mainly Greek and Roman. So Renaissance as term means rebirth. Rebirth of ancient Greek and Roman civilization, their works and art. People were very much attracted towards the ancient art and architecture which was absent in their contemporary times. Therefore, they wanted it to come back in their lives. Renaissance began in Italy's capital Rome, which is known as birthplace of Renaissance. So when people came to Rome from different countries of Europe, they were amazed to see their art forms, literature, and culture, and when they returned to their respective countries, they spread the influence of Renaissance, and that's how we see the spread of Renaissance in Germany, England, Spain, and rest of the Europe during 14th and 15th century. So here we come to know that Renaissance spread through the phenomena that we call cultural diffusion. As we have understood the spread of Renaissance and its meaning, now we must understand two important terms to grasp the essence of Renaissance. These two important terms are cultural diffusion and Renaissance humanism. Cultural diffusion is something like an idea that has a central point and then it started spreading from the center point to the other points. Similarly, that we had Renaissance in Italy and it spread to the rest of the Europe. So any phenomena beginning at a one point but spreading to the rest can be called cultural diffusion. Then we have the second term in connection to Renaissance, and that's called humanism. So, humanism is actually a school of thought that believed that humanity has dignity and power, and every form of art and architecture must capture the humanity. Art should revolve around humanity, not church and its rules. As we already know that before Renaissance, church was a dominant institution in every walk of life. It influenced almost everybody in the preceding periods. Poetry, drama, and other forms of art were under the influence of church. Renaissance gave the idea that humans are the finest creation in the universe who have the greatest faculty of reason that any other creature is lacking. Therefore, life and its representation through art and literature must focus the humans, not Bible and its characters. We have so far discussed the Elizabethan period and Renaissance in detail. Now it's time to look at the major writers of the period. In this particular period, only poetry and drama were written, though along with these two, some writers wrote essays and pamphlets, but the major categorization of the works fall into drama and poetry. Keeping in view the length of the video, I am not going to discuss every writer of this period, but I'll discuss some major writers of the period who influenced their age and beyond. Let's have a look at the major playwrights of the age. Of course, Shakespeare was the most influential dramatist of the age who cannot be summarized in this short video lecture. We shall talk on Shakespeare in detail later on. I am going to start with university wits. University wits was a group of writers who were the first professional writers of English literature. The group consists 7 members, 3 of them were graduated from Cambridge and 3 of them were from Oxford. But the one, namely Thomas Kidd, who did not go to any of the university but was still part of the group. This group started writing even before Shakespeare wrote anything. They took writing as their career. Writing was a kind of hobby for every writer before this group. They were not professional writers. That means they were doing something else for their livelihood. So they wrote poetry, drama, and pamphlets. One most important pamphlet was written by Robert Greene, who was part of the university wits. He wrote a pamphlet called Growth with Millions of Repentance. In this pamphlet, he highlighted Shakespeare and his talent. He calls Shakespeare upstart crow beautiful with our feathers, which shows his appreciation for William Shakespeare. Moreover, we had another most important writer, Christopher Marlowe, who wrote Tragic History of Dr. Faustus, that is based on the real essence of Renaissance humanism. It shows the worth of reason on the one hand, and on the other hand, it highlights the flaws with humanism as it was also influenced by the church. Let's talk about the major poets of the age now. Elizabethan period had many great poets and the influential form of poetry was sonnet. It should be kept in mind that Henry Howard and Thomas Watt contributed first to the blank verse and sonnet. This question was also asked in FPSC English lectureship test this year. So these two important writers contributed to blank verse which Shakespeare mastered in his writings. Along with these two, we have Philip Sidney and Edmund Spenser, who produced amazing works in the field of poetry. Spenser is said to be the poet's poet. It is amazing to know that it was the poetry of Spenser that started Elizabethan period. The name of that poetry is the Shepherd's Calendar, which is dedicated to Sir Philip Sidney. They were very close friends. After these two poets, another most important one is Shakespeare. I don't think I can do justice with his genius in this short video, but I'll talk in detail on Shakespeare in my next video to do justice to his talent in this period. So I am going to discuss Sir Philip Sidney, who is regarded as the perfect Renaissance man because he was a soldier, poet, courtier and philosopher. He died a tragic death in a war. He fought war as a soldier and was thirsty when he got some water. He found another soldier thirsty and he gave his water to him and consequently he died. He is also known as the first literary critic in the field of English literature. His criticism is well known to all, and if you don't know it, search out yourself and comment below the name of his critical work. With that, I end our discussion on Elizabethan Age, in which we discussed socio-political conditions, major dramatists and poets. In our next video, I shall talk about Mr. William Shakespeare in detail. Till that, happy learning. Stay connected to Lutuf's Literary Club. Thank you for watching this video.